Hello, my name is Kaylee Guidry. This is my third year teaching Jobs for America's graduates at St.Amant High School in Ascension Parish. I am most passionate about helping my students embrace their strengths, break down their barriers, and inspire them to grow into who they want to be. The curriculum being used in today's lesson is from JAG's National Competencies. The lesson will cover several competencies, but specifically hone in on verbal communication and completing a job interview. In today's lesson, you will see a diversity of learners with mixed abilities who've experienced barriers that may hinder future success without adequate support. The class you will see is comprised of sophomores, juniors, and seniors from both Jumpstart and TOPS diploma pathways. We will begin by reviewing proper expectations for interview behaviors. Students will then begin annotating a current entry-level job description from a local smoothie shop. The objective of today's lesson is to confidently answer job interview questions and conduct oneself in a professional manner. Prior to this lesson, students practice writing responses to frequently asked questions for interviews and then practice verbally with a partner using written responses. In my experience in this role, I learned that students lack confidence in everyday communication in areas in which they are unfamiliar. To combat this, I prepared this lesson to better prepare students to feel capable of gaining employment and reach their potential. An adaptation specifically designed to aid in their focus and calm their nerves was to purposely face the interviewee away from distractions. In addition, I had students cycle through various roles so they do not become complacent in only one specific role. Students are grouped into groups of 4 where they have an opportunity to cycle through various roles and complete peer mock interviews that will help them achieve success when interviewing for future employment. Each student has a role in the process, ranging from asking questions, answering questions, recording feedback, and observing interviewees' responses. The lesson will conclude with students completing a self-reflection based on the feedback given by their peers and how they felt they performed during the interview. Students are prompted to respond whether or not they felt confident in their performance if given the opportunity to interview tomorrow and provided a written explanation of their response. Ultimately, this lesson is designed to prepare students for real-world application by preparing them for future job interviews and enhance their confidence in their verbal communication skills. Okay, so what's our learning target today?
I can confidently answer job interview questions and conduct myself in a professional manner.
All right, Rashad, what were some keywords there? Confidently what?
Conduct myself in a professional manner.
But confidently what?
Answer
job interview questions, right? And then what else are we doing?
Conduct myself in a professional manner.
So before the break started, what did we do?
Practice interview questions.
Answering them in depth, right?
Yeah.
Because it can't just be like one word.
Yeah.
It can't be a phrase.
Sentence.
It needs to be a sentence. It needs to be thought out. It needs to be thorough. What else did we talk about as far as professional body language?
Eye contact, sitting up straight.
Arms should not be folded at all.
What does the fold mean?
Like they're closing them all, like
That you're not really interested. Should we be like slouched back?
No, sit up straight.
Sit up straight,
Niggas like
confident.
you interested in what they talking about.
If you're a fidgeter, what should you do with your hands or feet?
Put them in your pocket.
Put your hands in your pocket or down below the surface. If you're sitting at a table, you can put them in your lap. That's fine. You want your hands to be open and out if you can, but if you are a fidgeter, remember we want them to be underneath if you can. That is our learning target today. That's what we're going to be trying to do. You are going to go through mock interviews. You're going to be peer reviewed as well with feedback given. Okay, it shouldn't be too difficult. Their questions will be somewhat difficult, and then there will be some easy ones that we have practiced. There will be questions in there that you have not practiced, and you're going to have to go on the fly. In an actual interview, that's going to happen. You have no way of predicting what they're going to ask. So you need to be able to be on the fly, okay? So the first thing I need you to do is this paper on your desktop. There's one copy of it. Go ahead and get to that. Put that at the top, okay? This is going to be helpful. This is what we're going to be going through today. So if you can't see the board, make sure you look at that. But we're going to start our interviews with what today?
Greeting.
What do we call it?
GNAP.
GNAP, okay, so what does that look like? What does GNAP look like? We do it every single day when you walk in my door.
We shake our hands.
Demonstrate it, let me see. All right, so our introduction, a good, strong, firm handshake. We're telling them our name, we're introducing them, we're giving the purpose, the affiliation of why we're even being there. We also, when we're doing our interview, we're speaking what? Professionally and
Slowly and clearly.
slowly and clearly. Why do we think that's relevant?
The person that you are talking to, communicating to, can understand what you're saying. You don't want to be talking too fast.
Whenever you're in an interview, are you going to be nervous? Somewhat?
Yes.
Some of you might be.
Yes.
It's a nerve-wracking little situation. But what happens when you're nervous with your speech?
You start stuttering.
Stuttering. What else happens? You start speaking
Sweating.
really fast. You might be sweating.
Yeah, like that.
Start sweating, stuff like that. So we want to make sure that we slow ourselves down when we're talking, right? Also, you can start by your answer, restating the question. If it is a harder question or you have no idea how to answer it, ask the person to restate the question. That's okay. People do it all the time. Okay? Or you can ask them to repeat the question, whichever way. Or you can restate the question. So if they ask you one, restate it before. You know, whenever you're creating complete sentences, right? You do the same thing. If they ask you a question in a complete sentence, you're going to restate the question a little bit. That's the same way that you want to answer. We're sitting up straight and confidently, like we talked about. We don't want to be fidgeting, so we already talked about that. Keep your hands underneath if you can. Smile, breathe, and relax. Okay? What we talked about as far as answering your questions, we want complete sentences. We want them to be thorough. But here's an example of answering a question in a situation. Like if the question's about a certain situation, this is how we want to answer it. This is on your slides, and when you're actually answering your questions, if you're the person being interviewed, I would keep this in front of you, something to refer to. Okay, so if they ask you about a certain situation, you want to describe it. You want to make sure that you explain your personal actions and then whatever the outcomes were of that situation. So for my example, I gave you a STEM. What's a STEM? It helps you what?
Answer the question.
Answer the question thoroughly. So the STEM's going to help you. So in my previous role, if I was giving this example, in my previous role at St.Amant High School, we once faced a situation where our program didn't have good funding. To address that, we wanted to go into the community and find partnerships, and so we found one with 7 Brew, and we were able to fund our program more to be able to do fun activities. We also were able to fund with each coffee that we sold, and now we have a community partner that gives our students work-based learning hours and potential employment options. So those were the positive outcomes of that situation. See how I answered that? You state the situation, you talk about what your actions were, and then you talk about the outcomes, because that's ultimately what they want to know.
What questions do you have about this company?
Oh, well, I have a couple of questions that I hope you can answer for me. What is it like working in this industry? Like, what does this industry come with?
It comes with being having leadership skills, working respectfully, and having a great work ethic.
Another question: how do y'all deal with disrespectful or unloyal customers?
Well, you just gotta treat them to the best of your ability and have a respectful manner and just do what they wish. And that's trouble.
Time that that was
Okay, so then you're going to be timing, but don't time until.
I would.
No, first you come over here.
No, Prince goes over there.
Into obviously
No, Prince.
a pretty big problem since usually whenever people are super drunk and you're having to deal with them in a rushing environment, sometimes they can put up a fight and be kind of rude to other people. So I had to
Start once he's up there.
I can keep going. I had to talk to her and handle the situation,
No, technically you.
giving her a new
I know.
Wait, what number was?
sit down because she was very mad about it.
When you shake someone's hand and greet them, you should stand up.
And she wouldn't leave, so I just paid for her a new one.
Wait, who's being interviewed?
Complicated.
Alright, so how did he do? You gotta let him know what his feedback is for whenever he does the next interview.
Okay.
Piece it like this. So that was good,
So what
or bad?
qualities do you
This is
look
the
for?
way you set up was good, but your hands want to put it.
Or he can be up there, that's fine.
I feel
This
like
is professional.
Yeah, he can be up there too,
The
that's
only
fine.
reason she says to put them right here is if you
If
fidget
you
with your
fidget,
hand.
yeah.
And I don't fidget.
What could he have done better?
be positive in your answers.
need your reflection on interviews. How confident, remember that was our learning target, how confident do you feel going into an interview and doing that interview in a professional way and answering your questions thoroughly? Okay, so you're going to use the scale. Number one, one is I'm not confident, I need a lot more practice. Number 2 is somewhere in between. Number 3, I'm confident, but I still am nervous and need some practice. Number 4 is somewhere in between. And then 5 would be I'm very confident and I would rock my interview and get the job. Okay? So I need you to also explain why you would say that number below. My students met the objectives set for the lesson as evidenced by their confident reflections. However, many reported continued struggles using filler words and experiencing nervousness. During the interviews, I observed that a significant number of students had difficulty providing thorough responses and tended to rush through their answers. To address these challenges, I plan to focus on building students' confidence and helping them refine their responses. To enhance the lesson, I will have students practice in pairs instead of groups of 4, allowing a more individualized attention and more meaningful practice. I will ask students to provide more detailed reflections by rewriting the interview prompts and offering a deeper analysis of their performance. As a follow-up, I will conduct one-on-one interviews with each student for a role related to their career interests, providing immediate personalized feedback to further support their growth.